Jumping into the world's biggest mistake, the internet, today to look at the Elite 8 for the online North American West Tournament. You'll see in the top 16, a lot of those players aren't actually eligible for this tournament, so we actually might see some new faces show up in the top 16 of the Injustice Pro Series. We started off the tournament with Scar and Ominous, and Scar used Brainiac, and Brainiac's dive kick and aerial mobility really stole the day here. You can see Ominous in the corner, struggling to get out in the face of that dive kick, eating it. It is an overhead. He is continuously blocking low, and even the air escapes to get out. He goes to Starfire. We're going to see that aerial mobility come into play here. Keeps him in a block string here, and then zips over him, uses the interactable, take the game. In the last game, he's once again Brainiac, and there's just not much Black Adam could really do to stop him from jumping up in the air like that. He's leaping around, he's using his trait to just take him down, and there's another one, overhead dive kick, take the round. He's going into Winners Final. Rewind and Nubcake's play. Nubcakes was easily the strongest player in this tournament, and he was not going to be denied. We see here that Rewind tries to trade up his flash. Even in the slowed down movement, he can't escape the chip of Batman's Batarang. We see Nubcakes just on point with his punishes with the bats. Rewind would eventually switch to Blue Beetle, but even here, doesn't work out. He's smart enough to dash out underneath that setup. Gets a conversion off the air Batarang to take it. Nubcakes is in Winners Finals as well. Wake Ups is a relatively new face here in the top 8. He's going up against White Boy, and he looked okay, his fate, but White Boy was, again, just on par today. That read on that backdash with the meter burn back 3-4-3 to take it. The very last match, we see a little bit of a fun scramble here. We got Dr. Fate healing up while Scarecrow's down on life, but somehow, some way, this back 2 doesn't hit, and Scarecrow's jump 3 takes it. White Boy moves on in Losers. Theo and Deoxy's also in Losers, and at first, Theo looked like he really was running away with it here. You see he's got a huge life lead. He's very much in control, just kind of doing 4-2 into the glyph. He's up 2-0. In the last game here, though, this is what happens. He manages to block this low, but he gets an input error and gets the healing spell. It's a very common thing to do. He used to do 4-2 after he's crouching, and he gets that. It flusters him a little, and he makes a bad trait call right there, and he loses the match here. Deoxys would take that momentum running and use 2 bars in a clash to take almost all of his life. It was very close, but he had managed to avoid that back 2 with his aerial mobility and beat Theo. Theo's eliminated. Deoxys moves on. Scar Nubcakes in Winners Finals was, again, this was all Nubcakes. In the corner here, look at this pressure. He meter burns through that interactable. He is not going to be stopped by anything going on. Supergirl. And then he tries Joker in a kind of a weird pick. It does a little bit of damage, but up here, you can see he's just not really cracking open Nubcakes. Nubcake's going to take it. He's moving on to Grand Finals. Another 3-0. Rewind to White Boy playing in Losers. And Rewind was looking good with Firestorm, but we see here Scarecrow's trait is really deadly. And even though he's able to punish it here, he can't avoid the chip. And then he tries to run away and just teleporting to get it in. But here, the trait kind of screws him when he goes over to Wonder Woman. Rewind makes a Wonder Woman pick to counter pick. And look at that, a clean punish on that trait activation. He's going to take that game. White Boy, however, has a pick of his own. He goes to Adam. And despite the match being close, we can see here Adam's little kind of zone and pressure with the trait really helps him out there. And he ends up taking it over Rewind. So White Boy moves on and Losers. Rewind is eliminated. Ominous and Deoxys plays, and this again, Deoxys was looking on fire this tournament, especially after that Theo game. There's just not a whole lot Ominous could get started against the aerial mobility of Blue Beetle, and I think that was the key in Black Adam's downfall in this tournament, was not being able to stop characters that could really float around the air. And right here, he's going to get a fireball after this backdash, and he's moved on. Now, Deoxys was unfortunately eliminated by White Boy in a 3-0. We don't have the footage for that, but White Boy won a pretty quick 3-0, and he moved on to Losers Finals against Scar, where again, he looked as strong as he's ever looked. Right here, he traits up, manages a huge jump 3. Scar tried Supergirl, and then he went back to Supergirl after a switch to Red Hood. It didn't really help, unfortunately. We saw that White Boy was just looking really good. He got a game there with a nice down 2 read, but you can see here the trait comes back. It always comes back to that, and he's chipping him out. He can't avoid it. Meter burn dash in. Scar and White Boy moves on to Winners Final. Scar is eliminated. Now, Nubcakes, unfortunately, as good as White Boy looked, Nubcakes was even better. You see his corner pressure here where he doesn't skip a beat, even an aerial pickup. He manages a full combo. That 4-2-3, that would have never hit on any other day, but this was Nubcakes' day. He's looking incredible. Strong dive kick read right there on the back 3. What are you going to do? What do you do against that? I have no idea. Nubcakes is looking too strong. And then game 3 here, he switched to Adam. White Boy switched to Adam again. It did not help. He tries to scramble out, but he lands on that Batarang. Nubcakes is your winner. And now when we take a look at the points again, Nubcakes has spiraled up to that top 16, as has Rewind and White Boy. Looking strong going into EVO. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Slips and Hippo Show, episode 6. As always, I'm King Hippo.
Slips.
Yeah. And as you saw, we had another IPS event this week. We had the online IPS finals for the region of the West. And that happened Sunday night, last Sunday night as of this recording, maybe about a week ago, maybe when you hear it. And it was pretty fun, I would say.
They're very interesting.
Yeah, maybe not not like a barn-burning classics, a lot of 3-0s in there, but the results were interesting nonetheless.
Nubcake's going nuts.
Yeah.
Like, accumulating all of the frustration that he's had for, like, coming so close for so long and just exploding it in everyone's face.
Whoa, that's
3-0ing everyone.
Highly sexually charged. I don't know if I.
That is not sexual. You are saying it's sexually
exploding
charged.
In their face.
That, like, an explosion in your face could be like, maybe you're a big fan of Doom. I just got done playing Doom, and I was blowing up demons' faces.
What Doom were you playing?
The most recent one.
Like 2015 Doom or 2016?
Yeah, uh-huh.
The first time you ever played it?
Yeah, I'm shitting in my pants playing that game.
It's good. It's damn good.
It's crazy.
So whether you are, in fact, shooting your seed into someone's face or exploding a gun into their face, either way, we can acknowledge that Nubcake's had a hell of a run. He 3-0'd pretty much everybody in his path. I mean, I don't think he dropped a game.
He almost lost, like, first round to Underwater. Like, it was super close. Like, Underwater dropped, like a huge, there's a pivotal point where he missed, like, a back 3 after a meter burn scoop in, like a game 4 or 5 or something like that, and it was, like, pivotal. He would have, like, had massive momentum. But yeah, Nubcake's held it together and he won, and then he was like, that, like, really, like, snapped him out of it, or, I don't know, he was on fire after that, like Alicia Keys style. Nubcakes is on fire!
This bat is on fire! Sorry, Alicia, I'm sorry, we can't pay you royalties, so don't sue. It was a parody.
Right. Weird Al.
Yeah. Yeah, Weird Al got off on that. Yeah, I think
yeah.
So. Everybody loves Weird Al.
But props to Nubcakes. He's someone where it's just like, if that was me and I was coming to close that many times, like, I would feel like I would start even questioning myself. Just like, man, maybe I'm just not quite as good as I need to be. Like, maybe I'm just not it. But man, he was, and I love that. I'm just gonna keep playing, and eventually I know I'm good, and it's gonna happen. And it did. He fucking destroyed everyone. Props to him.
Yeah, so I've known Nubcakes, George, since Injustice 1 when he played at Wednesday Night Fights. And it was always like he was pretty good. I remember I would have arguments with Wound Cowboy, who would systemically argue that he was, like, bad. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, there's no evidence of that. Like, he's pretty good. Like, it's just that he doesn't really place that often. He's just good, but not, like, super top, maybe. I think he ended up getting top 8 SCR.
Wound Cowboy hated anyone that played with Batman.
I think he hates most people.
Is he? Is he a hateful person?
Hate's a strong word. Dislikes. Gets annoyed with easily. If you have, like, a bad matchup opinion, he doesn't, like, all right, I'm done with you.
He judges your whole character based on how you feel about a matchup.
Which is a little harsh, I agree. We all love Ryan, but we know
he's a shitty human.
But we know he's prickly. Yeah.
Sinestro does fine against Batman.
Oh God, if you had a Sinestro opinion, just don't say it. Or a Shinnok opinion, or anything really. Just don't say it. It's not worth it. But yeah, I've known Nubcakes a long time, and he played Batman in Injustice 1 as well. And even in MKX, he was pretty good. He'd play in those ESL online tournaments and do fairly well. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think he played Shinnok, ironically enough. And he always did pretty good. Last time I saw him, he had cleaned up a lot. Not that he was like a criminal or anything, but he was just
dirty. Dirty?
No, he was a lot like the other SoCal, like the non-Theo Sajam guys, which were, like pot-smoking children. That's what they were. And, he had scraggly hair, and he kind of,
Really? I thought he was, like, isn't he Asian?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he is.
His name is, like, George Silva. That sounds highly Hispanic to me.
Oh, yeah.
Are you so well? Because he's dark skinned and he has,
cut that part out. Yeah.
that's not getting cut out.
It was props to him. I thought he was so good. I thought he was super smart, so I just assumed he was
All
Asian.
Right, hang on. I'll give you an out here. We can meet in a middle ground and say he might be possibly Filipino.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nutcakes, we need some clarification.
Yeah,
Save
maybe,
me.
Yeah, well, yeah, save you. Yeah, I'm the one in the right here. Jesus. Anyways, I saw him in 2016. I was at a tournament in SoCal and he was there, looking real good. He took a full-time job teaching music. As I understand it, he's in a long-term relationship. I want to say he's engaged or he's getting close to getting married or something like that. And, and even then he's got a full-time job, but he still manages to make time to play Injustice. And, clearly even last year, he got to the IPS finals and doing well in these online events because he didn't travel that much. He did well in the online events last year and got to the IPS finals. He didn't qualify into the E-League finals, but he did get to the IPS finals. And it looks like he's almost, very close to cashing in his ticket here. If he does well at SCR, for example, or Evo, he's pretty much got it locked in.
Nice. Yeah, I remember him at Combo Breaker.
That's right.
He had like a super close set with Gurr. That probably would have gotten some points too. It was a really good set.
Yeah, he's always been pretty strong. Just kind of, there's all, to be really top, you got to have like that third gear that you could kick into where you really just, now you're on another level.
Relentless, dude.
Yeah, now this was
relentless.
Basically what that was. Yeah, he looked like no one was stopping him. So, quick recap. So the top 8, as you saw in the video, Scar and Ominous played. And that was a pretty quick route with Brainiac against, I think, like Adam and maybe one other character. I don't really remember.
So, something I want to say. So we had a request to do like stock report stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I'd say for Nupcakes, stock way up.
And with Nubcake's,
stocks up.
With Nubcake's tremendous opening.
Obviously, yeah.
With his tremendous opening, I hereby declare the stock market open. Ding, 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 ding.
Right,
ding,
right,
ding,
right.
Ding. Yeah, it's his stock is way up, and I think going into Evo, that's something to consider. That strong of a run. We'll look at the rest of the top 8 now, just kind of going a little bit by it. Scar and Ominous played. Scar with a 3-0 over Ominous. Ominous, I would say, is kind of like Nubcakes, maybe not quite as strong, whereas like he gets the decent placings, but it's like the third gear is not there yet. Could be in the future, but it's just not.
He's close, man.
Yeah, he's close, but not quite there.
I like that. He's like a Nubcakes. Like he could probably bust out at any moment.
Yeah. And then Rewind and Nubcakes.
I'd say his stock is neutral.
Neutral, yeah. I wouldn't say it got any worse. I mean, I think he ended up tied for 5th. That is not the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Rewind, Nubcakes played. Nubcakes, that was again a route he played against his Blue Beetle, and he put him in losers. Nubcakes again couldn't be stopped this tournament. It didn't really matter who was in his path because Rewind's normally very good, so it's not a slight. It's just like, man, it wasn't his day.
Mm-hmm.
Wake Ups and White Boy played. I don't know of Wake Ups that well, but apparently
I've never
he
heard
seems
of
to
him.
be okay. Yeah, I think he plays Dr. Fate, and he played against White Boy. Now White Boy was the other big story of this tournament. What a crazy losers run. He lost to Young Monster early in the tournament, and then beat him in the run back in losers finals to get into losers top 8, and then just proceeded to just barely drop games. Looking really strong. Wake Ups he played to play Dr. Fate against Scarecrow, except for the final match, which had a really fun like scramble moment at the end, which I think they put in GIFable form on the Injustice Twitter. He took it 3-0 pretty convincingly.
Mm-hmm.
So Wake Ups, I would say stock up. I didn't even know the dude.
I don't even know him,
so
he's in the stock market, I guess.
Yeah, he's in the stock market. His name is listed on
the stock
he's
market.
on the Dow Jones. So
yeah.
Congrats. White Boy stock is definitely like almost, I would say, as high as Nubcakes at this, because White Boy hasn't had a strong IPS showing yet, especially compared to last year where he was, he won CEO and had other good showings. But this year hasn't been his year. but it might be. After this tournament, it was announced on his Twitter that he signed with Coalition Gaming, which is the sponsor that has Nubcakes.
Awesome.
Based out of California, so, who knows what's going on there. I thought he was on his way out. Just when I thought he was out, it pulls him back in, so who knows.
Good. He's freaking great.
So he was on a tear, and then we got to talk about this. I mean, this one was probably the match of the tournament. I mean, Theo and Deoxys.
Yeah, that's the match of the week.
I don't think it was in any question what the match of the week was. I think you got the...
Theo and Rewind was also very good. But
that happened, I think.
Theo Deoxys got controversy, so that's why this is match of the week.
This is match of the week, and I think you got clips ready for that, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's roll to it.
Our match of the week for the online North America West Injustice Pro Series tournament is between Theo and Deoxys, and this matchup we see a lot of small victories in the projectile warfare of these two characters. We all know Dr. Fate does pretty good ship damage with his projectile, but check out what happens when he trades projectiles with Blue Beetle. Blue Beetles does a little bit more damage, so Theo wants to avoid a trade whenever he can. But when he does have the projectile advantage, meaning he gets his shot off first, he definitely gets his chip damage, he gets to run his game. But when Blue Beetle gets his shot off first, notice he can't even get a shot off. He's got to edge his way in just to get him to stop. And Theo plays it beautifully the first two games, but then we're going to cut straight to the chase in Game 3. Here we see Theo's about to win. He blocks the low stab, but Deoxys has a clash, and he's got a bar meter. Unfortunately for Theo, he gets that healing orb, something he definitely didn't want. We don't really know for sure what was going to happen if he would have got what he wanted, but regardless, it's a huge moment in this set. Deoxys takes that game, and Game 4, Airwolf, everyone's favorite helicopter. We really see Deoxys utilizing the air mobility of Blue Beetle and the air projectile. He's baiting anti-air, just kind of lulling Theo to sleep, and then just comes in with a raw jump in this time. Theo guesses wrong in the 50-50. Deoxys takes that game, and then here again, Deoxys really utilizing the air mobility again, making a big comeback here. And a big moment where Theo can go for an unclashable, just with another back 3, but instead he goes for a jump 3, gives Deoxys an extra 15%. Here again, Theo's going to block the low stab. This time he's not even going to try and do forward 2, he just does a glyph, so it's clearly in his head. And then again we see more air mobility out of Deoxys. Another jump 2 with the float, and here again, floats around. Another failed back 2 from Theo, and Deoxys takes this 3-2.
There you go.
Yeah, that was
super close.
I had heartburn watching that match, I tell you.
That was unfortunate for Theo. Like
yes,
that happened.
Yeah.
But props to Deoxys. Like he was down 2-0. He should have lost, or I don't know if he should have, because you never really know what would have happened, but he was probably going to lose 3-0, and then he said, screw it, I'm going, like, I don't care, like, I'm going to try and take this now. Maybe I just got lucky, but I'm winning.
Yes, pretty much, it was his destiny. And, Deoxys is someone, too, who, as these past couple tournaments has really been close. He's got 9th, I think he got 9th at CEO, and Combo Breaker, he was at least top 16.
He won that Texas Showdown.
And he won Texas Showdown earlier this year, so he's
been on top of the mountain now.
He's getting there, and that kind of tournament showing against someone like Theo, that's what champions are made of. So that bodes very well for his future. I say stock way up for Deoxys, even though his stock was pretty good.
It's up.
Theo, I hate to say it, he's a buddy of mine. I think his stock is down.
Down?
Well, maybe neutral.
Down because of an input thing?
I'm thinking long term here. Hear me out here. If I'm an investor, here's what I'm thinking about. He didn't do very well at Combo Breaker. He had to skip CEO, unfortunate act of God reasons. He wasn't able to be there. And Evo and SCR. So basically with those 3 tournaments, he has to make enough points to be in the top 12. A 7th place showing is going to get him some points. But is it going to be, again, and now the pressure's on to do really well at Evo and SCR. Because now there's a lot of people that have come up. The people that went to Viennality and placed high got a lot of points. Things like that. The 12 is looking more and more crowded by the day. And that's a lot of pressure to do really well at Evo and SCR, and it's tough. And I'll say, okay, I'll whittle it down to stock neutral.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Stock neutral, aiming towards down, and I'm sure he can recover. I'm sure, again, this isn't his first dog and pony show. He knows what to do. Hopefully he knows what to do. I think
the better zoners, I think.
I think he understood with Dr. Fate,
like
especially.
F2 Dave that knows how to play footsies.
He's not like an idiot. Yeah, I think he always kind of understood, and this is going back to Aquaman and Injustice 1. And this is just a general fighting game fundamental. We use the word fundamentals. We don't really know what it means, but I would argue this is kind of it. Is like understanding what options that are available to you after a safe blocked move. Because, a lot of times with Fate, it's going to be forward 2 glyph. And then what happens after that is sort of where he's going to get the meat of his damage. Because he doesn't really have mix-ups, Dr. Fate. He just kind of does moves and zoning and chips you out. Mm-hmm. So really you kind of make, and Aquaman's sort of the same way too. And he would make really good use of like Triton Rush on block, and then he would like down 2 sometimes because he knew he was farther out. And so if someone tries to poke, the down 2 would beat it. Knew when to backdash and things like that. So he uses that safety of the glyph to really make something happen out of nothing. And I think that's a really strong aspect of his game. And that's why I think he's far and away the best Dr. Fate player right now. Again, you saw that he blocked the Beetle low scythe move. And unfortunately in this game, a lot of people write it off as a bug. It's not a bug. It's just that it's actually an error on the player's part. But the thing about it is that the game stores inputs for a really long time in order to ease up on the specials as far as getting them out cleanly. And when you go from down to forward, if you get like a quarter circle in there, even that still registers as a down forward input. So your healing spell came out when he wanted to get that forward 2, shoulder barge move. And that cost him the match. And, that's a thing that's been in NRS games for a long time. It's just a way they make the game. When you make a fighting game, making the input window generous is something they've had to do. It was an old lesson learned. And you can, if you have the Street Fighter 30th anniversary collection, you can actually play it now. The original Street Fighter game, the inputs are too tight and you can't get moves out because you don't have a window of error. So they Fighting Street, that's right. And they loosened it up for Street Fighter 2, which allowed a lot of goofy things like 2-in-1s and things like that. But as games, in this newer generation, and I think NRS games have always kind of done this, even back in the Midway days, a little easier to get the inputs out. They weren't like quarter circle forward. It was always down forward or back forward or what have you. They didn't have the more complicated inputs, so they wanted to make it lenient and easy to do. Sometimes it can have, some bad side effects, and this is one of them. They've done some things to loosen it, or to loosen it up. They have made it also so that you can do alternate controls to not get that. So you now have, alternate controls basically allows that diagonal input to make it a part of that special. The problem with that, however, is that for a character like Dr. Fate, who's one of his back forward moves is so imperative to his offense, that move now becomes a half circle. And if you don't think that input matters when you're trying to do it, believe me, it does.
It's huge.
It's huge. And so it's a flaw. It's an unfortunate flaw, and I don't know what it would take to fix. I imagine that's something that's hard coded. That it would just take a long time to figure out how to do it.
I don't think it'd be hard to fix. I think it's just a philosophical thing. Yeah,
philosophical.
I think they have a philosophical thing of we want to appeal to the casuals. We want to promote getting the special moves more than getting normal moves because they'll be getting normal moves just by mashing anyway.
Right.
So they want to promote like ease of special moves because they're a little glammier looking. So that's I'm always quick to praise like what I love about Injustice, but you got to call a spade a spade.
You do.
For me, this is the worst thing about Injustice is that that transition from ducking to like back or forward and to hit a button, typically to whiff punish, and you get a special move instead. It's the worst feeling. I don't know how many times I'll outspace someone with Leonardo. I try and I'll be ducking, or I'll just be I'll duck for just a slight second just for spacing purposes. And they'll whiff right in front of me. I try and do back one and I get turtling instead. And they just whiff right in front of my face and Leonardo puts his head in his shell. I'm just like, dude, no, hit him with your sword. Christ.
Yeah, that's and I mean this isn't the first time I've played a fighter where that was the problem. Street Fighter 4, I argued it was a huge issue.
Street Fighter, yeah, they made dragon punches super easy.
And because of that it led to, I think by the time the game was ended, Momochi basically had an option select where you could throw tech, Shoryuken, or just do a down jab.
Yeah.
Like those lenient inputs like that lead to that kind of thing. And they are in Injustice 2. They're not used that often. It's a thing, but they were in MKX as well. And it's, it's one of those things you hope can change for the future. And who knows, maybe it will. But yeah, that's a design philosophy, and that's something that you either agree or disagree with, unfortunately. I think, but unfortunately, I think this is the worst side of it, and it happens.
Yeah.
Now, but you do have to give credit to Deoxys for, because like I said, it is a strong champion, how's the way to say it? Fortitude to take what was basically a loss, because that was it. That was the game.
You could easily have just been like, man, I shouldn't even be playing right now. And then that would just knowing that you should have lost could have taken you out of the next game or next two games.
It could have.
But he stayed in it. He was just like, cool, I'm gonna win now. And Theo was like, man, I should have already won.
Yeah, I think
and that last game, Theo had it, man. He had it in the fucking bag. And then just Deoxys still just pulled through. Like it looked like he was in dire straits. And Deoxys still pulled it out. It was a great match.
Yeah. And I think when you see on Twitter the first thing he posts is he's immediately talking about it. It was in his head the whole time. And it's very difficult to recover from. So props to Deoxys. He moved on. Winners finals with Scar and Nubcakes. Again, Nubcakes didn't care about Brainiac, he didn't care about Supergirl. He was just there to win. And he did. Yeah,
I thought it was interesting. I didn't criticize Scar, but I was just like, I wonder why Scar, when he played Forever King in the last major, I was like, why didn't he used all Brainiac? I was like, why didn't he ever, use Supergirl? And then this time against Nubcakes, he was all Supergirl, and same result.
Yeah.
So Scar might have a Batman problem he's got to figure out.
It could be, yeah.
But I'm glad he's going through progressions, he's really trying to figure it out. So that's cool. I'd say Scar's stock is still neutral. He's still placing. He's still doing really good. He's just got to figure out Batman. Yeah,
because Scar can, he fluctuates between placing and not placing a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Just again, this was I would say a better than average tournament for him. So yeah, I would say stock neutral.
I think everyone already considers him probably a top 10 player. So
yeah, he probably is in that. Yeah,
I would anyway.
Yeah. And then losers, Rewind and White Boy played. Now this was pretty interesting because White Boy ended up taking it 3-1, so he beat Firestorm twice, and then he beat Firestorm, and then I think he tried Blue Beetle and he beat him again. And then he went to Wonder Woman, who White Boy lost to earlier, but then he also beat Young Monsters Wonder Woman later. The Wonder Woman worked on him for a game, and he decided to switch to The Atom, Ryan Choi. And that ended up helping him out. He ended up taking that game. That was pretty interesting. I've never seen him pull that one out before.
Hey, whatever works.
Right, yeah. Close game. Even that Wonder Woman game against Adam was pretty close, but he ended up... a lot of interesting things to separate him from Gur. I would say one of the number one things is Gur, when he has the trait, likes to just kind of use it for the purposes of just doing a lot of chip and, just kind of going back and forth with the two. And he kind of uses it till it's exhausted and then gets out of there. White Boy, I would notice, would take the time to stutter, stop right in front of you, and then was he going to do the 3, or was he going to do the jump 3, which is the overhead, was he going to do the low, or was he going to do the throw? He would put that in his game to scare you to do something. And then, his success rate on landing those was pretty high just because I don't think anyone kind of expects that at this point. The meta of it sort of has been, you use it till you just get a lot of chip and then get out of there. But yeah, he was actually using the mix-ups that are in it, and I thought he used it pretty effectively.
I think Gerd is too. It's just a different style. Like, yeah, he goes for the chip, and then at the very end, Gerd will go for the mix-up. Whereas in
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah, White Boy will he could do the mix-up at any point. Like, he's much more liberal on when he's going to do his mix-up with it. But that's like the big thing with Adam. It's just like, if you can guess right, I'd say 2 times a match during that thing, whether you hit him out of it or guess right. If you can guess right two times, I'd say your odds of winning that match like increase dramatically.
Yeah, they drastic go up. Yes,
but it's just like when you fight Adam and like you can't guess right one time when he gets in that trade, it's
and you're just
super frustrating. It's super frustrating. Yeah.
So White Boy moved on, and then Ominous and Deoxys played, and Deoxys 3-0'd him as well. So Deoxys and White Boy played, and this match has actually played out before in the grand finals of Texas Showdown, where Deoxys won it. But this time, White Boy 3-0.
White Boy looks...
He didn't...
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, for all the problems that Scarecrow appears to have with zoning, it didn't really affect him here. Nor with Blue Beetle or with Cyborg, which Deoxys pulled out last to try and throw him off.
White Boy's poised, man. He looks good. I played him like the night before, and I'd never played him before. And I've played like some pretty good Scarecrows, I guess. So I kind of had an idea. Like, I knew it was going to be a big battle of the neutral because his limbs are so damn long, and I have long normals. So I was like, I think I know what to do. And man, when he gets in, like, he has a bunch of stuff that I've never seen before. So like whenever he gets in, especially if he gets you cornered, I was just like, I had a smile on my face. I was like, I don't know what to do about any of this shit. I was just like, wow. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, he really is like a next level Scarecrow. Like, there's no Scarecrow that's, on that level. And he sent me a message like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about, working on my alts. And I was just like, you can work on your alts all you want. But I was like, but you're a Scarecrow. I was like, no one can be prepared for like what this type of shit that you've got. There's like no Scarecrow's doing this shit. He just has funky staggers. Like most Scarecrows, when they have a bar meter and they do that uppercut vapor thing or whatever, and you meter burn it and use +6.
Fairferno.
Yeah, like, it's so expected, you just expect it, but he'll have like meter and he won't commit to it. He'll just do a single hit and then he'll command grab, or he'll do a single and then jump 3, or he'll stagger like something and then jump 3, or just straight into command grab, and it's just like, holy fuck, like, you're just like, what is all this shit? And it's good, man. Like, yeah. I forgot who it was against. But he had someone cornered, and he, like, literally ran, like, every command grab setup in the book. It was, like, standing 3, command grab. 2. Down 2, command grab. Down 1, command grab. The low kick, command grab. And it was just like, what in the fuck? I was like, this is insane. Command grab. Command grab. I was like, oh my god, bro. So I was like, end it. I was like, this is over. Just end the match. Like, just forget it.
Yeah, we don't see Scarecrow a whole lot. He's not a very popular character. And so, again, you can be as good as you could be. You could be the best player in the world, but if you're the only person playing him, there's a hint of, kind of an underdevelopedness to it. So it's hard to see, like, where Scarecrow, like, truly, plays out in the game. But it seems like the longer we go and the stronger, White Boy's been getting at playing again, after kind of a sort of a slump in the past, like, couple months. Like, the Scarecrow, is supposed to have, a big problem with, getting kept out and stuff like that. But he's starting to do where he has his character power up, and once he'll just start absorbing fireballs, and that gets him his trait bar built up.
Mm-hmm.
So where he can use the full screen, ground blast.
Right.
And he uses that to convert from little things all the time. And it just seems like that doesn't seem like a huge enough weakness to where it's really like, that's the number one thing. Like, oh, Scarecrow can't compete with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, he just looked, optimal. And another thing was that, one thing I've been critical in the past of is that he, cause I imagine doing down 1 into the Fearferno is just so kind of in your mind at the point. You just do it all the time. And there would be a lot of situations where he'd be like, Batman slide, and he'd punish with down 1 Fear Furno meter burn. It's like, okay, that, cause his damage is good. If he gets that hook spin, do it about 40%, but he's getting better at that. And especially this tournament, what I saw him do, and this was really interesting, much like Dr. Fate, he would do forward 2 ground, gas blast. That gas blast is like -8, but like Fate's, it's like it's pushed back. You're not going to punish it, basically. And the forward 2, the range is like, very, very far. It's like 3 character lane.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was playing with Leo, most characters I outfitsy on the ground at least with my like back 1-2. But with Scarecrow, I was like, fuck. What is it? Scarecrow's back 2? That long reaching thing?
Forward 2, yeah.
Forward 2. Like, that was equal to what I have, and then his jump attacks were super cheap, and then his back 3 super cheap, and then he's got that forward 3. I was like, wow, I'm fucking out footsied. I was like, and I was he was killing me. I was just like, man, like, this is,
yeah.
It was a new experience. Let's say that.
He's really good too at like, because Scarecrow's not like super safe on his normals. It's like the special cancel is what kind of makes his whole game work. But he would do like forward 2, and if they jumped it, and jump behind him, he would like whiff punt it because he's kind of crouching when he does it. He like would down 1 the recovery of the jump in that missed into hook spin and get like a full damage combo. He did that like 3 or 4 times. Thought it was super impressive.
Good.
Yeah, it was really dominating the space against most characters. And if you can't do anything about it, you can't do anything about it. It's like a hard to counter move.
I mean, it's hard to make a whiff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
that space where you're like looking to whiff is that primary range where you can do his jump 2, that big chain. And then it's also that same space where if you're looking, he can do the dolphin dive too. I don't know. There's just a lot of shit to look for. And if you're concentrating on 2 or 3 of those things that he's doing, then all of a sudden he does a fucking teleport, and then you're just like, a teleport, and then if you're not like, I guess maybe offline, you can just not even care about the teleport, but
yeah, probably not. But even then, that's still an option.
Yeah, like he uses it tastefully, and he'll just bust it out every blue moon, and
every
it
once
just
in a
catches you off, and then he hits you with a down 1 into the chain hook, and it launches, and you're just like, oh my god.
I mean, and if you remember in Injustice 1, he played Doomsday, and he was even then good at, because Doomsday would do the meter burn shoulder kind of mindlessly because that would get him frames, and he even then was good at like when he would just do shoulder and nothing, and it was like people were waiting because the second half was armored too. Because I think if you even slight delayed it, you would eat like a poke or something like that, and they would just do nothing, and then he would down 1 Earthshaker. Kind of the same application if you think about it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that was good. And then he went on to losers finals against Scar. And I think he dropped 1 game to like his Red Hood maybe or something like that. But that was pretty clean, 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
He was not to be stopped. Fortunately, he ran right into a brick wall. That brick wall was the Batman.
I mean, it's Batman.
Yeah, and that's a matchup that
canon.
He plays. That not only is it canon, he plays it all the time. Like he plays King at a lot of tournaments, and lately he's been getting his number. But yeah, he loses to Batman.
Nutcase has got a different style of Batman too. Like he does a lot of throws. Like a lot of Batman. When they don't have that bat to like kind of keep them safe or keep the momentum going, they'll do like jump 2, 1-2, and they'll get frames, and then. Maybe they'll do back 1 to try and catch you poking, or, back 1-1-2, or they'll do back 1-1, maybe bat summon 50-50, or if they think you're going to backdash, they'll do jump 2, or they'll do forward 3, or they'll do meter burn forward 3, like, they just kind of stay in your face. Whereas in Nubcakes, it's just like, I don't have a bat summon, I'm going to throw, and I'm going to back up, or something like, and it's smart, like, that's why I thought he was Asian.
Cause, Jesus. I can't take this anymore. Let it be known, if you think you're a smart player, Slips is gonna be sniffing out for your Asian blood.
Yeah.
He's gonna be looking. I mean, it's a smart idea because, unlike in Injustice 1, Batman's pressure in that game largely jailed. Like, it was plus enough to where it was like, okay, he's going to land the jump in and you can't do anything about it. So people didn't really have the incentive to stop blocking. Whereas in this game, it's not nearly as advantageous as it was before, which in a way is kind of better because that does make people want to be antsy and kind of squirm. But Nubcakes is really he's good at two things in my opinion that set him apart. Number one, at using the throw just as an option because people I think are more afraid to try and tech it and miss, like maybe get neutral jumped or something like that than just taking it. It's fine. And then he's also really good at using like a up batarang as just a wake up or a move.
Mm-hmm.
Just because why not?
Oh yeah, it's a great wake up.
Greatly improved from the first game. Comes out super fast. The meter burn is very positive on block. The on hit gets you a big combo. I don't see why you wouldn't do it.
I mean, they gotta be super meaty to beat it. And if they're super meaty, then his normal wake up stuff hits. His parry and his slide. Yeah. And his backdash will probably get away from shit if you're super meaty. So
yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
It complements his wake up attacks very well.
Yes, because the instant you hesitate there, it comes out. And even if you trade, I think a lot of times it'll still come out and explode. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he used that to great effect here. Just nothing, White Boy just really couldn't get anything started. I think he did end up switching to Adam again. It didn't do anything. And, he took it, looking very, very good going into Evo. I assume he's going to Evo. I don't actually know that, but I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So congrats to Nubcakes. Good dude. I'm glad that he is, finding success after kind of a long kind of standing. And
someone else to look out for now.
Yeah.
Shit. It's getting crazy.
It's a lot different, and especially later on, we're going to talk about the past and just comparing it to now. It's kind of nuts if you think about it. Like, so as we saw, I would say at the end of the day, I would say Nubcakes and White Boy have the biggest stocks up. Deoxys would be the third most, and everybody else, and Wake Ups because I'd never seen him before. Mm-hmm. And everybody else is kind of neutral, and then I would say my opinion was like Theo was trending downward, but I would say maybe neutral to be fair.
Yeah. That's just sucked. Yeah.
Yeah, it just sucked. Yeah, I think that's just the way we put it. It just sucked. Maybe not indicative of what'll happen in the future.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the only thing that happened, of course. I think we've skipped it because there's been IPS events which we obviously give priority to, but War of the Gods still goes on and we still watch it.
Yeah, that was good too.
Yeah.
So, we have Hayate and Nubcakes in winners, Silvereye and Emperor Combat in winners. And then we have, I guess this is already going to be ran.
Yeah, so you'll have seen this by the time it comes out. I hope it's good.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, we can make a prediction, and then we can blow each other up.
All right.
I'm going with, so we're talking past tense by the time
we're talking
people hear
the
this.
Past tense.
So we'll make this quick.
Yeah.
I'm going Emperor Combat. I'm going Combat.
He's gonna win. I'll say Nubcakes wins, but rewind.
Really?
And I'll say Gur gets second.
Nubcakes and Gur, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we'll find out if we're full of shit.
We will see. Yeah. Should be a good time. Hero Killer Stain back in the top 8 again.
He's good, dude.
Again, local guy, plays Cyborg. I'm really happy that he's found success.
He's
third time in a row, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, pretty. Consistency is a big factor.
He's a good player in general.
In these online tournaments, it's important to find consistency.
Yeah, he's good.
Because once it keeps happening, you'll find it. If you can keep doing it, it'll keep happening again, and that's how you get to reach higher in the bracket. So okay, and it should be a good tournament. Look for that. I think it's Thursdays they play that out.
Mm-hmm.
Thursdays. Okay.
Nubcakes. What if Nubcakes wins that one too? Well, we'll see, I guess.
That would be good. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Speaking of IPS, I do think it's important to bring up something I thought happened. Kind of ties in with what we were talking about last week. So, HappyPow, who's a French Flash player, he was at Viennale. I think he got like 4th. He had that crazy match of the week last week against Irish Mantis. He said on Twitter that he will not be competing in IPS Season 2, kind of like how Foxy did. And he said that trying to compete in IPS Season 2 was the worst decision of his life.
Wow.
And that he likes competing, but IPS Season 2 broke him.
Like mentally or
I'm
financially?
assuming like how Bane broke the bat.
Really, just physically and
Just
mentally
body.
and
Like, I think he's just
in all aspects of life.
I think he's just bodied. Yeah, my guess is probably financial. Like, I don't think he got his back broken, but you know, it kind of goes back, and you know, those European players, a lot of them do have this gripe with the IPS that it is heavily American. I hesitate to even say North American. I think it's just American centric. Because it's a short amount of time. It's not a full year. Like, it's not even as long a time like ESL was during MKX. Like, it's just a short amount of time, heavily focused on America. And you know, I do empathize with the idea that it is difficult to, you know, have to fly out to these tournaments. And if you don't place, not only do you not get the points, you don't really get like sort of a monetary reward, I guess, to cover what was surely an expensive trip. And like, I do sympathize in that sense, but at the same time too, I think when you go into this kind of thing, I think you have to budget and understand that the people that do this, and because I've seen too a lot of like the griping is like, well, they should pay out to like the more like the top 32 and not just like top 8 or something like that, which is cool and all. But even then, I don't know if like, okay, you gotta budget these things out. The people that live on this kind of thing, it's the top 1%.
Right.
It's the top 1%. So you really have to budget out these things. And I sympathize with the fact that there's not a lot to go on in Europe, but at the same time, it's small. I mean, Vianaldi had 40 entrants?
It's just not as developed there.
Yeah. What are you gonna do, you know? You gotta, and now I understand that ESL, when they did it for MKX, they had qualifiers at DreamHack, I think in Sweden, and they had it in the UK, and they even had one, I think, in Russia, like for an Asian, branch of the ESL. And they all got to come into the finals that were in like September, and that's cool. That was their prerogative. ESL is not running the show this time. I don't know. I guess I don't know, like, if it's underdeveloped and, you know, there's just not a lot. Like, what do? You feel bad, obviously, that, you know, there's players all around the world that like the game and want to compete and they don't get a lot of chances, but I don't know what you do.
I don't know. Like, I don't want them to quit. I don't want them to stop, because they're the ambassadors of the game in those regions. Like, they're good too. Like, they could have easily have. I mean, HappyPow, did he get top 8 at Combo Breaker? Like, he did really good.
He got 9th, I think.
Yeah, like, I mean, he was one step away from getting a shit ton of points.
And it's CEO, I think, too.
Yeah, like, that's just tough. Like, that's tough. Like, you're going against the best of the best. And would he be saying that if he would have placed? I don't know.
Well, he definitely wouldn't have.
That's just, I mean, that's unfortunate. That just, yeah. He gambled. He said, I'm good enough to make this event and to make it. And he actually is, honestly, but he just barely, I mean, he was probably, you know, 1 or 2 wrong guesses away from being in it, you know, like, yeah, but I don't be mad about it. Like, I guess it's easy to be mad about it if you're broke and you came up short. It sounds like an emotional response. Like, I'd be upset too. You were so close, and then that kind of torches you a little bit.
And I guess
you gotta vent. You gotta let him vent, I think.
Yeah, he was saying that, you know, it's like you can't make a mistake. Like, you have to get
He's
top.
right. He's right. Like, they have a harder path. They really do. And we empathize. Like, that sucks. Sorry, man.
I hope you don't think it was the worst.
Like, you know, we don't think it was the worst decision of your life. We hope you keep doing it. We hope you keep breaking your back, because you're good. He's good.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, then it's like, you know, you're playing for the wrong reasons. You know, it's like, it goes back again to what we talked about last week, where it was just like,
yeah.
Because you struggled, you know, through financial, and you didn't go to tournaments, and it obviously could have gone rough for you too. I'm sure you were mad. frustrated.
Oh, yeah, when I was younger, yeah. I'm a grown-ass man. How many tournaments have I been to? I'm a grown-ass man.
Allegedly.
A career. Well, in the physical sense, I'm a grown-ass man.
Okay, I can agree. Well, sort of. I can sort of agree with that.
But mentally, yeah, I'm still probably like a child. But anyway, even then, I haven't gone to CEO. I didn't go to CEO. I haven't gone to shit. I'm gonna go to Evo, and I don't think I'm gonna go to SoCal Regionals. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's just like even I don't have the money to be doing all that shit. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only thing that does suck is they can't even do like War of the Gods. Like I don't think the Europeans are allowed to play in that because of the net code.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but what are you gonna do? I think the other problem is you have to I think you have to kind of take it in as like how small, like the NRS scene, even in America, where I would argue, I mean, I don't even think it's a controversial statement, where the strongest players are.
Mm-hmm. Well, Canada's pretty good, man.
We'll say North America. How about that?
Okay.
North America, where the strongest players are. It's still small, relatively speaking. Like the tournaments are like 120, 150 people, with some exceptions here and there. So like imagine like where the hottest competition is, and then you go out to the rest of the world. I can't imagine it's that hot. And I mean, if they're dedicated and passionate, that's really cool. And I think it sucks when you're trying to build a scene when there just seems to be not that much interest. And like I said, I empathize, but I think reality sets in where you're like, okay, we are in a small pocket, and we're not going to have the opportunities, and they would have to bend a lot of things that they probably don't have to make it work, and that sucks. That's just reality, I think.
The reality is this playing Injustice should not be your long-term goals for financial stability.
Yeah, I don't think it's the golden goose it looks like. I mean, you can look at Sonic making, $90,000 or whatever that was.
Well, yeah, he's the 1%.
Yeah, that's the same.
Sonic is our 1% in this community. That's just how it is. Like, unless you think you're in that 1% of you can just play and not have a job, and then, go for it. But most of us have to have a job. and most of us playing this game is, a hobby, and it's just something that, fulfills your happiness meter.
Happiness meter?
Yeah, that's I just made that up.
Okay.
It's improv.
I don't know if it's improv. I think that's a little hard.
Well, for most of us, it just fills up the happiness meter.
Can you see the happiness meter?
Yeah, I play and I get happy most of the time.
Can you see it? Like, is it a bar above your head?
In my brain.
Okay. I'll say if it's like They Live, where you gotta wear like special glasses and you can see it.
No, it's a feeling.
It's a feeling. Okay.
Yeah, it's like my happiness meter right now is probably like 75%. Pretty good.
Mine's probably about there too. It would be higher if this wasn't the second recording.
Yeah, way to go.
Yeah, I know. My bad. Blow me up over it.
You're the one that mentioned it.
That's true, I did. My happiness meter is drastically going down right now.
So the people listening, we actually already recorded this once, but Hippo
Dipshit.
failed to hit the record button. So we're doing it again.
It looked like it was on. What can I say?
Jesus Christ.
Had the appearance of looking... Surely this happened during K2P. Don't blow me up too much.
It did happen once, I remember, yeah.
Okay. And
there was at least one time it happened, yeah.
You guys do like 4 fucking hours, so... Exactly. You hold my nuts.
You're the one that mentioned it.
That's true, I did. I apologize. Anyways.
I was going with the flow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Happiness Meter over here.
It's at 80% now.
Oh, wow, I've made it go up. I don't know if that's good or bad. So we decided, since we're going into Evo and there's not a lot of events in between there besides War of the Gods, we're taking it a little easy. We're going to be doing some shorter episodes, but we thought we'd get into some fun topics while we're waiting for, we'll both be at Evo. It's going to be really exciting. We're hoping this is a good show. But until then, we're just, fill the void, maybe doing some shorter episodes about some fun topics. And this week, we thought we would do our top 3 players. Now, there's got to be some guidelines here. So why don't you set some guidelines for our top 3 players? Like, what are we
Top
talking
3 favorite players. Who are
Is
your
it-
top 3 favorite players?
Now, is this NRS community centric? Is it fighting game centric? What are we
NRS community.
NRS
Fuck those
community.
other people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
All right. Does it have to be, like, is it all time? Is it
Current.
current? Okay, it's got to be current.
Injustice 2 players.
Injustice 2 players. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Why don't you go first?
In no order, I like Samij, Hayate, and there's so many to pick from. Gur comes to mind.
You're okay.
Those are my 3 faves.
So what do you like?
I like-
about those dudes?
I like Samij because
Besides their stunning good looks.
what?
I mean, that's clearly why you pick all 3 of them, right?
None of them look even remotely the same as to one or the other.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you just like all 3 of them. You just think they're handsome dudes.
I at no point said that.
I think it's heavily implied, right?
I think the implication was, I thought they were really good players, and I really liked watching them.
Well, you did the other, a couple weeks ago.
I
say
like
you wanted-
Hayate's hair. It's
Yeah,
pretty
his hair is cool. You did
Yeah.
say like a
He's
couple.
got
weeks ago,
like a hipster thing going.
It is. It's like I think it's a hat. Well, I
He's
haven't
got
seen
the
it lately.
bull ring in his nose.
He's got the bull ring, and it used to be like a half shaved head, half like Skrillex. But
Yeah,
I don't know if it's like that anymore. I haven't seen him lately.
he's always flipping his hair around.
Flipping
He does
his
the
hair
Starfire.
constantly.
He does a wake up Starfire hair flip like in between every game.
He does it IRL. That's right. Yeah, it's a real life wake up. I was gonna say the other week you did say you wanted to kiss Forever King's playstyle. So I'm just saying it's all sexually charged. Is what I'm saying.
Everything to you is sexually charged.
I don't do it. You do it.
I don't know about all that. I think you just need to look at some porn before we record, and then you won't have these sexual feelings.
I see. So my problem is I'm horny and I need to just
Right,
release.
right.
I see.
Yeah,
Continue.
then you'll be good.
All right.
Be
Continue.
all right. Jesus Christ. Don't ever fuck up the recording again. What the hell are we talking about? Alright, anyway, so, yeah, I like Samij because for some reason he's on a meta that I don't think anyone's at, and he's pretty much a character loyalist. Every once in a while he'll bust out Poison Ivy.
Right.
Same with Hayate. Pure loyalist, which is awesome. I just like the loyalists. I like those people that just grind. Jesus Christ. And,
Grind.
I didn't say anything. And, who's the other person I picked?
Grr.
Gur. Yeah. Another character loyalist. Pretty much. He's pretty much all Adam.
Yeah, I think
He's so
Adam-
friendly. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, he seems like a really sweet dude.
And he looks so angry when he plays.
I think he's just passionate. I don't know if it's anger.
He's angry.
Angry.
Yeah.
Like you think Grr is like that's what he's thinking in his head. Like, ugh.
Like he's like the State Puff Marshmallow Man.
Whoa.
Like outside of like when he's not playing.
Oh, okay.
And when he's playing, he's like, that's when he like really lets all that anger out. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
That's him taken over by like Zool.
Yes.
So when he's not playing, he's just the Stay Puft Man. But then after he starts playing, there is no Grr, only Zool. Is what you're saying.
Are you a god?
When people ask you if you're a god, just say yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good choice. They're all, exciting. Whenever they play on the stream, it's usually an event of some sort. I mean, each one of those guys is a must watch. For me, I would say, and this is biased because they are like buddies, but I think for me it would be White Boy, Theo, and I'm gonna throw Samij in there too. Samij, the one thing I enjoy the most about Samij, I think, is that, like you said, he's playing on a level above most other people, and I think I always enjoy people who make the most out of almost any situation, which is to me the hardest part of being a consistent top player is like when you can turn any situation that even is like a stray hit or something like that and completely turn it into your favor. Like he will hit like an air-to-air jump 1, it's going into cat dash.
Mm-hmm.
He hits it down 2 and it trades, he's going into cat dash. He always manages to convert it or do something to end it in his favor, or he ends in that whip or something like that. Just something super advantageous for his position, which I think is super impressive. And then Theo and White Boy, that even goes back to Injustice 1. They were some of my favorite players. Just the, really smart usage of like safe-ish moves to set up more offense. Like they were using characters like Aquaman and Doomsday who aren't like super safe on everything they do. Like they'll end in like -5, -4, something like that. But then they knew how to tail the game in their favor by just introducing so many potential variants afterwards. Like we saw with, like I was talking about with White Boy, he'll do forward 2 gas blast as just sort of a poke, and then use how you're staying still after that to enforce his mix-ups. Or you mentioned how he does the Fear Furno. He'll just stop, don't even do the meter burn, and just continue his offense from there. Theo's really good at stealing offense by doing forward 2 glyph. Because I think, to me, that is something that the mid-level players have a hard time understanding, where it's like, well, it's not my turn anymore. Fuck, it is. Make it your turn.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes offense better than defense. Is with offense, you get to see how your opponent's reacting to that situation. Like forward 2 into the palm gas thing. Yeah, like, it's super safe. Everyone knows it's coming. But if you just do forward 2 by itself, and then you're like, where's the gas blast? And then all of a sudden you're getting thrown. Or he does forward 2 by itself, and then he does jump 3, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, all of a sudden, you have to take your turn that you didn't even know your turn existed, so to speak. Or
he was taking turns, they don't know existed. That's a good way of putting it.
That's the thing about offense is, even in situations where you're going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage, you are seeing how they react to that situation. And chances are, because they're on the defensive, they're probably going to react to that situation the same most of the time.
Yeah, well, I think that there's
on the matchup.
There's more valuable data.
Everyone has like an auto response to a situation.
Yes.
And it's the really good players that, switch it up all the time. But one of those things to kind of get the meta flowing is to do something different. Like, if you see that they just always block or they just always keep holding back after this scenario, then do something about it. Like, do something about it. Like, they're not doing anything. It's like one of the things I need to get in the habit of. It's like with Leo, I'll do like back 1, 2, and then some people will they'll just start mashing down 2, and I'm just like, I need to fucking who's really good at this is Hero Killer Stain. He'll do like a string and he'll stagger it and then like down 1.
Yes.
And you'll be like, what the hell is he doing? Like, and so
Forward
like
2, down 1.
Yeah, and it'll be like, okay, well, when he gets in next time and starts doing that string, I'll just smash down 1 and I'll take my frame advantage. But then, like, if he has 2 bars a meter, he has no problem just bounce canceling it. Or meter burn forward 3. Is it called bounce cancel anymore?
It is called bounce cancel.
Is that what it's called? Okay. When they use 2 bars a meter and they do like the forward 3, he's really good at that. It's super obnoxious. You're just like, oh my fucking god. Like, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah.
Like, that type of stuff is like, and that's like just something that he does, and like, you gotta come up with your own branded bullshit. And that's what makes White Boy. Like, that's when I was saying earlier. I was like, when I play against his Scarecrow, I'm like, this is shit I've never fucking even seen before. Like, you gotta come up with your own stuff. That's what makes it shit fun.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will be like, well, I wouldn't do that because it's, it's scrubby or whatever dumb shit word they'd use. And it's like, but, you gotta use what works because, like you were mentioning, offense is more valuable data, how people react to that, than being defensive. Because a lot of people think that if we, I would also say it's a common mid-level player fallacy. They believe that if they're constantly holding back and jumping back and being defensive, they're gonna, the offensive player's gonna show his ass, and I'll be able to just beat him from there. That's I would
especially
argue
in a game like this. Yeah,
because it is defensive minded.
yeah,
But I would argue a lot of times that's not actually what'll win you the match. What's going to win you the match is how taking advantage of their tendencies.
right.
Because it is
Play the
easy.
player.
Yeah, it is easy to walk backwards and do all that. But, they're going to have their own creative ways of doing it to where your defensive is going to be enlightening to them. Again, more enlightening probably than whatever you spent the past 10 seconds doing. And I think that is that's what, strong players are made of, is just doing what seems like, oh, this is a poor decision. It's not really. It's calculated in a way that I don't even know if they could explain. But they just know, like, all right, well, I mean, because again, the way the offense works in this game, and I was listening to another podcast this morning where they were talking about, they don't like, there's not pokes in this game like there are in Street Fighter, and there's not. It's true. It is more like a Tekken or a Virtua Fighter, 3D fighter style frame data with slower moves on startup, and then the advent, it's not as bad on block a lot of times. But you got to take your turns from there, because I'm sure in Tekken, you don't just, oh, well, they could down jab me here, so I just don't do it. I just don't do a high. I just do mids. Well, clearly that's flawed. You got to do some fast highs every now and again, especially if they're, and then in Soul Calibur, let's say if they're going to sidestep, you got to throw in fast highs every now and again because they're fast, and it's not something expected. They could obviously crouch it and down jab you or something like that, but you gotta, because I remember. The other thing you'll always hear is like, oh, so-and-so character has no mids, therefore they're not good. This is a UK talking point. I've never understood it. Like Red Hood, they're like, well, he's okay, but he has no mids. And we clearly see, well, that matters jack shit. He has a mid. It's called dive.
He's got a long-reaching low. That's better than a
long-reaching low, too, yeah. It's
long-reaching low is better than a mid.
Yeah, because then you can't walk back.
Yeah, that's what makes him good, is the damn double low kick.
Yeah.
And when you start respecting the double low kick, then he does the fucking high into the overhead.
And then even the highs though, like, they're fast. That's the thing. They're fast. I think people have this expectation that the people who are really good are going to be like, oh, they're going to duck jab me after like every time I go for a high move. And obviously, if that's happening a lot, it's not because the move's high. It's probably because you're not doing something wrong. You are doing something wrong.
You got to stop him from doing it.
Well, yeah, because they want.
That's how Red Hood's footsies kind of work. Is first he's going to do the low, and then you'll start blocking, and then he'll start doing the overhead, and then they'll start mashing. And then if they start doing that, then if some of them have like a time. Some people who really know the match will have a timing where they'll block the low and they'll time a down 2 if they have a really fast down 2 or a down 1, and they'll interrupt the overhead. But then you just slightly walk back and you let their attack whiff, and then you hit them with the low. Like, it's really simple. Like,
or you just do a faster move.
It's still all a 50-50. Like, in the end, like, it's going to be the low or the overhead. You might have to vary up the timing just to. It's a 3-way. Are they going to attack? Are they going to duck? Or are they going to block high? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like everything.
In a nutshell, yeah.
That's like as good a scenario as you're ever going to get. Besides like a jump in 50-50, yeah.
And that's why I think all three of those players are my favorite. They are the experts of their. Because, Theo's obviously known for being a defensive head, and even like.
Those are good picks. I should have said White Boy. I forgot.
And White Boy's known as being like an offensive, nut. But
I really like Honeybee and Biohazard too. God,
I like those guys
too.
There's
a lot of good players.
You can only pick 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, it's like those, obviously because those are both the extremes. Like Theo's the ultimate, like he just does nothing. And then White Boy just doesn't stop doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really a lot more calculated than that. And they might not even be able to articulate it themselves, especially White Boy.
What do you mean?
I mean, he knows I love him, but you talk about Crow, he's like, oh yeah, I do Fear Inferno, and I might do this, I might do that, I don't know. I just felt like it was a good move to do at the time. And you're like, okay, that's not helpful at all.
He doesn't want to show you the rabbit in the hat. It's fine.
If you could put it that way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's maybe he's an idiot savant. Who knows?
You just call him like a retard?
No. Whoa, we don't use that word anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm old school. I can still use it.
I just say pants on head.
That's even worse.
No, it's not.
Pants on head?
Yeah. Because, you're so dumb you'd put your pants on your head.
I don't even think retards do that.
I'm saying it again. We are canceled.
Nah, this is a joke. It's a joke.
All right.
I'm just messing around.
Well, that was our top 3 players. We'll do more lists, in the future.
Yeah.
For these slower shows. Last couple things I want to talk about. I thought it would be fun, since we are wounded into EVO, looking at EVO's, Injustice of EVO's past. Kind of seeing how, how we could compare it to even nowadays, learning from, behaviors at the time and the talking points and things like that. Because I think there is something that will be learned, always something to be learned from history, whether you might know it now or not. So looking back at EVO 2013 for Injustice, especially the top 8, that was a time, and this time I honestly think will never come again. It was the first time for that game where it was all the regions that we know of are attending. We knew that there was a strong contingent in Florida because CEO had happened and we saw a couple Florida players really do well. We knew that the New Jersey players like KDZ and Rico Suave were going to be there. We knew that guys like Eris, believe it or not, Eris was an incredibly strong player at the beginning of Injustice 1's life. And some of the other SoCal guys like Tyrant were going to be there. Midwest guys, all the GGA guys were going. It was the first time, and that gathering of all those scenes, without knowing who was going to match up against who and who was going to be strong, that was something that I don't think is going to exist anymore. As far as the online being so good and locals just not being a thing anymore.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of recapture that thing, but that was really exciting for the first game, and the stories coming into it were that Chris G had won every tournament leading up to, I think with the exception of maybe 2 tournaments, he'd won CEO and UFGT, which is now Combo Breaker, with Green Arrow. So he was I would say probably the favorite to probably take the tournament at the time. And he ended up getting top 8, he ended up getting 3rd. But obviously the big story of the tournament, and we knew coming in, was going to be Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think Superman's kind of annoying now, you don't know about Injustice 1 Superman. That was, I've played a lot of fighting games. I would say that's the most unfair character I've ever played against.
The most unfair?
The most unfair.
More than MK9 Cabal.
A little bit. A little bit. I felt like Cabal didn't put you in as many situations where there was no escape.
Superman was pretty damn good.
Because Ford 2 was even farther range than it is now. Now it hits about a little less than round start. It hit beyond round start at the beginning of the game's life. Breath was +1, which meant that his follow-up was pretty much going to beat most every move in the game. Even a jump. I don't even think you could jump out of the pressure.
Couldn't jump out.
So you had to either have
some
a good
characters
backdash.
could.
You had to have I think Deathstroke could.
Yeah, he could.
You had to have a good backdash, or you'd 6-frame down one, which meant you had to kind of take the guess that he would just do it again. But that's flawed because, he could just wait a sec, too. It all was a bad guess in his favor. And he did a lot of damage, especially in the corner. Back then, his corner damage was probably about 65%, maybe 70. I don't know why either. Just was. That game also had power interactables that were way stronger than they were before. A lot of stages had constantly responding projectiles that were unblockable. A lot of characters. Meter burn back 3s, I think at the beginning of the game. Later they added that you take reduced damage if you armor against a move. That was not the case. So even if you armored a interactable, it took 20%.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Huge chunk of damage, yeah. And a lot of them were unavoidable. They would just take up the whole screen, and then the explosion would hit everywhere, so you couldn't jump over it or anything like that. It was just nonsense, And Superman played right into that. As did Black Adam, who was another incredibly strong character.
He was busted.
You think Black Adam's good now? Wait till you play against his EX dive kick being so plus he could dash after it and do stand 1 in jail. That is, and his backdash was
out of control.
Half screen.
In a game where the foot speed was horrible.
Yeah, most characters' walk speed was really bad.
And the interactables were that busted. Godspeed got a top 8, literally just jumping around, and you could pick the stage.
You could pick
literally
the stage,
jumping around on rooftop, just throwing drones. Like it was a crazy time.
It would be
crazy.
a while before they added, I think, the random select, where it's like each person picks a stage and it randomly selects which one. I don't think that was.
We just didn't even have the rules.
The rules. Yeah.
As a community, we were like, just pick whatever stage you want. And it was like
MK9,
ridiculous.
we had stage counter picking too. That was a thing.
That was bad on the community's part. Not bad. Like we just didn't know. We should have known.
Misguided. Yeah, I would say misguided.
Yeah.
Just to let her, because there was like, LOL, let it rock. Like if you can't beat someone on this stage, blah blah blah, which is all dumb talking points. So the top 8, and this is also back in the days when it won't happen so much now. Like Punk is like the last one, and I think even then he's not, as strong, maybe even as he was at the beginning of the game's life, where guys who were like primarily players of like Street Fighter or Marvel could play these games and they'd be good enough just in general and understand it to do really well, especially at the beginning of the game's life. So like Chris G in MK9 was a strong player throughout the game's life. Injustice 1, he was good for a decent amount of time. And then by MKX in this game, I think he just doesn't care anymore. But he was pretty good back then, especially. And he ended up getting top 8. He got 3rd, like I said. The most surprising one is PR Balrog got top 8. Using Killer Frost, who at the beginning of that game of Injustice 1's life was also crazy. She had a slide, just imagine Sub-Zero slide, but it launches on hit for a full combo and it's safe on block.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because that's fun to play against. And she has a parry that activates on the first frame. So counter poking can be a risk. She also has a standing vortex, which would define that game's life, especially towards the end. She would do a string into, like, all of her moves ended in this command grab, and like if you meet her in the command grab, it restood them. And then you would do like forward 1-1-3 into the daggers, and the daggers were like plus 17 or something. Her forward 3 is 17 frames, that would never exist in Injustice 2. I don't think any character's forward 3 is anything more than like 25. But in that game, there was a few exceptions. Green Lantern actually used to have like an 18 frame one. And it was 17 frames, and her low was like 19, maybe even shorter than that. So it was a very, very, very difficult guess and each hit I would say did about 40+%. Something like that. Like, huge damage.
I'd say like 35, something
35,
like that.
40, yeah. So she did huge damage looping. And, PR Balrog didn't even do that. He just did the normal stuff. And he got top 8. He had a match with Gridman to get into top 8. Gridman's like a local, like, not local. He's like a Bostonian player for Street Fighter mainly. He played Superman. It is the worst match to get into like top 8, which, kind of like a prestigious, match.
It was bad.
It's the worst match to ever get into top 8 ever. I highly recommend you find it. Just for posterity. Like, it's just fun. Like, wow, these guys
so bad it's good.
Can barely do the combos. Like, he can't do the Superman combos, which is nuts.
It was ugly.
Yeah, it's ugly. I would say, I would define Injustice 1, a lot of the pools and stuff, as ugly. He wasn't a factor at this tournament, but Scorpion had come in and scared everybody bad at CEO. Scorpion came in and had a lot of really strong stuff. There was a lot of outcry about what to do about him. Do we ban him? And eventually he ended up getting nerfed pretty significantly before this tournament. And you didn't see a lot of him at this tournament. I think afterwards, I think, unless you were playing him, I don't think, or maybe sometimes Carl, we never saw him again.
Wait, which tournament?
So at CEO, Scorpion came out and was like super good.
So we're past Evo now.
No, that was before Evo.
Wait, which Evo are we talking about?
2013.
He wasn't. Is this the first Evo for Injustice?
Yeah.
He wasn't even allowed yet. He was banned.
Was he banned on the? Was he?
Or he wasn't even out.
He was out because CEO was before Evo.
The first Injustice Evo, I don't even think he was a thing yet.
Because the characters were released? What, Lobo, and then Batgirl,
right?
And then who was third, Scorpion or Zod?
Scorpion.
Okay, so Scorpion, because Zod was already out by the time Evo was, because he was banned. Yeah, Scorpion was out. He just got nerfed.
Well, I guess he was banned. Oh no, you're right. He was nerfed to oblivion.
Yeah.
He was nerfed. Oh, that's right. That's right.
He got sent to the Netherrealm.
Wow. God, a lot happened.
Yeah, a lot happened. It was only, 3 or 4 months, but it was a wild time. Like this, there was no like Pro Tour or anything like that. We were just playing, and no pop bonuses. This is before they even did that.
Okay.
We were just kind of playing, and a lot of patch. That was back when they would patch.
Yeah, that's
like,
right. I remember saying like, I can't use him for Evo.
Yeah, I remember
he was so
emo,
bad I couldn't even use him. Yeah.
You were like hella emo. Yeah, that you couldn't use him.
Yeah, I had to go back to
Deathstroke. Right. So that was So he wasn't even at the tournament. Like he was a non-factor almost completely afterwards.
How insane.
Yeah, that was a kooky time for everybody.
This goes back to what we were saying last episode, where NRS listens to its players.
Oh, they certainly do. Yeah. Sometimes
for
to
better
its
or for worse. Yeah.
Rio also got top 8 at Injustice in 2013, using Batman. Batman was very, very strong at the beginning of Injustice 1 as well. It's hard, like, when you think of, like, Superman and Black Adam being so good, you forget about, like, Batman and Aquaman, who was also, like, oh my god. They just weren't as good.
Batman, if he had the life lead, he was so hard to get in on, because he just constantly had a bat. His back 2-3 was busted. His batarangs were double hitting mid projectiles. Like, he was just really hard to get in. His backdash was out of control. If he had a bat out, he could release the bat during a backdash. So he was just really hard to get in on.
His bats recovered in like 3 or 4 seconds too.
Yeah, his bat trait recovery was absurd. He always had a bat. Always. It was insane.
Yeah, so, he always had it. The back 2-3, even if you jumped it, you couldn't hit him.
Yeah, you had some character. If you didn't have a projectile, the only thing that you could do about back 2-3 was hope that you could interrupt. You hit him in between the back 2-3, because if you jumped over it and while he was rolling back, he was still able to block. It was crazy.
Yeah, so that helped. Yeah, that helped him get in there. We mentioned Godspeed before. Godspeed, you'll know now as a commentator for a lot of SoCal events and things like that. But back then he played, and he used Black Adam and Aquaman.
And just picked Rooftop.
Threw
drones.
Yeah, so Rooftop Day, Metropolis Rooftop was just, like, the drones, you couldn't do anything about them. If you weren't a power character, you were screwed. And, yeah, I mean, props to him. He used that to his advantage. Yeah, there's nothing more to say about that. Also at that tournament, 4th and 5th were relative newcomers to the scene at the time. Theo and Slayer, both playing Superman.
That's when they came out. They're coming out party.
Yeah, I knew about Slayer because I'd gone to some like MK9 events and he was playing MK9, but Theo had yet to really kind of ingratiate himself into the community, and he had by the time of Injustice. And yeah, they played Superman. Looked like they were pretty good. They had a lot of interesting usage of like dive bombs and things like that, where they were really working on trying to reset people. And unfortunately, Theo played Slayer, and towards the end of their first game, so it was only 2 out of 3, and at the end of their first game, it actually wasn't even the end, it was like the middle. So like Theo just lost his gray life. Slayer's got a little bit of his gray life left. It's not like a huge life lead or anything. But he starts blocking that heat zap laser, the one that does like 6% chip, and he just kept walking back and just blocking it. Like, it looked like something was wrong, and there was something wrong, because he hit pause, and you saw the cursor go crazy, because it could only hold right, or whatever. His controller malfunctioned. And he fixed it, but by game 2, you know it was like, you can't not think, okay, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, you have to really refocus.
Yeah, and ironically, that wasn't even the only controller malfunction of the tournament. To get top 8, this guy named Nightmare SF, who's playing Batman, played, I think, Godspeed.
Mm-hmm.
And he was using Batman, and he looked like he was going to take it, but every time, like, both games, he paused.
Yeah.
His controller malfunctioned, or he was, like, mashing or something. I don't know what is happening, but he paused both games and lost both games on technicality, because why wouldn't you take it?
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so that was, like, the controller malfunctions were a big thing at the time. The PS3 is a shitty console, by the way. Like, I'm so glad we were still using PS3s back then. The PS3 for Injustice was a BAD.
Yeah.
Bunch of stages bogged. If you picked Ares or Scorpion, they bogged the stages because there were fire effects and whatnot. Just not good. Not good all around. And then we got to the top three. Chris G ended up getting third in a weird way because, so he got to winners finals against KDZ, but he played DJT and beat him in winners, and then in losers, he forgot that, so Green Lantern's back 1-3 in that game, and he had a bunch of different special moves in that game. He had this one move, it was a missile call from behind him, and the missile call was like super plus on block, so he could do back one again. It looks like a block infinite if you don't know what you're doing, but it's not. It's just you have to backdash the back 1-3, and you can also backdash the missile as well. There's 2 spots to do it. Well, Chris didn't know about either of those, because he played and was good at, his intuition was good, but I don't think he studied the game in any in-depth manner. He just knew he knew what he could do, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And
he
so
literally lost like a whole game to it.
A whole life bar, yeah.
He was just looking back at the crowd, and the crowd had
what is this? I don't know what's going on. Because, Chris is very animated. He's mashing his stick like, I don't know what is this. And
he still almost won.
He almost won, yeah. So, he just didn't know that was a thing. It's kind of reminded me of, in Combo Breaker Grand Finals, Gross played Tweety, and he wasn't, trying to backdash the back 1-3. It's not that he didn't, and he said, it's not that I didn't know that, it's just I forgot.
It's hard. It's not easy.
So yeah, that was a fun thing to just, again, see that. By this time, the crowd was, it's worth noting, the crowd was super not into this top 8. I wouldn't say hostile, but the amount of times it was Superman and really basic block pressure from Batman and Green Lantern and stuff like that, it didn't exactly warm up the crowd, let's say that.
I'd say it's mainly Superman.
Superman was probably because there was 3 of them.
Yeah.
In the top 8. And, it's getting a lot of boos. And then KDZ stepped up to the plate for the grand finals. And KDZ is probably the most natural villain I've ever seen. Maybe even more so than Carl. Because Carl's a villain, for sure. But, there's something about KDZ where it's he is, I would say, really adamant about how bad everyone is that they can't beat his broken character. It's really weird. Or was.
Skill gap. I remember skill gap.
That was the most famous quote, was that he was questioned about how he won and what there was boos and stuff like that. And he goes, yeah, I just think those NRS players, they're just kind of mad that there's just such this huge skill gap. That phrase was used the whole year. He ended up winning with Superman, and then he won Summer Jam as well, and then in October of that year, they had the big Injustice balance patch where they changed almost every character. And then he was he ceased to exist almost. He was one of those dudes too. There was a few dudes that would play these top characters, and then when they got nerfed, took it very personally. Mm-hmm. To the point of
Rico Suave would take it.
Rico Suave was another one. They were just man, LOL, those guys that, they would always say those guys that play in Chicago are getting them nerfed and blah, blah, blah. And it was just childish and petty. And, that's behavior I think people learn not to repeat. Don't act.
Have they learned?
No, not really. Cause Sonic kinda does it. It's not as bad as those two were, but it's still there. And I don't know if it's come on, dude. Don't take these things personally.
Well, for Sonic, I can kind of see, because he finds some great shit. He finds shit that no one else finds. And if it's, the bottom line is, if it's broken, it's fucking broken. If it's broke, if it's unreasonably unfair, I would say is a good definition, it's fucking broken and it needs to be fixed.
Gotta go, yeah.
And he's just really good at finding that shit. So it's a compliment, if anything.
That's why I said sorta. It's not it's not as bad, because KDZ would just pick Superman and then say LOL, I'm not even picking up the real best character, and character's not even that good, his zoning's not good. It's just this weird, aggressive downplay, I would argue. Wound Cowboy levels of downplay. And it was just super petulant about it all the time. It was really bizarre to me, and I never understood it. What was the point of antagonizing, all these people? I don't know. Really weird, and, he, for the most part, kind of fell off. I think in Injustice 2, at Combo Breaker randomly, the first one, he got top 8 with Aquaman. And I think he got, 7th. And then that was pretty much it. We never really saw the dude again. I would argue that speaks more to his non-ability to change after the fact. There was a lot of fraud accusations thrown out. A lot of that. I don't know if it was totally warranted. Like I said, I think it more speaks to the attitude. But yeah, he's the only champion I would say that's like not respected, if that makes sense. Would you agree?
Blew him up like that?
I didn't say I did. I just said the community at large.
I don't know about not respected. I would just say,
like, that was a thing that happened, but no one, like, it's like, because, you think about the champions.
He didn't adapt. He definitely didn't adapt.
Carl, DJT, Sonic. I think that's it. Oh, what? Dragon. All those guys.
KDZ, the Rico Suaves, yeah, they took the nerfs personal. They got super butthurt about it. And instead of adapting, they just left. They pretty much just left. And
yeah,
that's a shitty attitude. And then you have, Dragon. He was just like, cool, I'll just keep playing Black Adam and I'll win. That's what I like about Dragon.
Or some other character. It's just like, all right, well,
he used Black Adam and Aquaman in Injustice 2 after they got nerfed, and he still did pretty fucking good, especially with Black Adam. But he didn't take it personal. He was just like, oh, they see how broken Black Adam is, and they did something about it, but he's still good. Like, he still had respect for what, was trying to be done, as opposed to the Rico Suaves and KDZ at the time, where they just took it personal, and instead of, being like, oh, NRS, they're trying to make the game good, their attitude was, NRS is fucking stupid. It's me. I'm the reason these characters are good. It's not because they're broken. Like the most selfish, self-righteous attitude you could possibly have.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that sort of defined Injustice's first year, where you could argue, and I think it wasn't until NEC 2013 where there was a really kind of a paradigm shift. I think on KTP, you guys were arguing about how, like, it wasn't fun they made it not fun to play. Like, a lot of the top people in the community just made it not fun to play with just really poor attitudes and, like, this game isn't good.
NRS games had that stigma of just not being good games just because of the dark ages of the Mortal Kombat games.
Right.
So when NRS is trying to enter the fray of competitive gaming and they did something, outside of MK, the top players just assume that the NRS people, working at NRS just don't know shit about competitive fighting games. So when NRS was trying to fix shit and make the game more balanced, and instead of the top players supporting, like I was saying, supporting the changes, they just doubled down on NRS being stupid and them being great. It was just a horrible. Can't get any more toxic and cancerous than that shit.
Yeah, and then,
instead of them taking the opportunity to be revered top players in the NRS community, they decided to go the path of I'm the greatest ever.
Yeah, and it's just like, all right, well, yeah, that wasn't.
I'm the greatest, and the NRS games are just bad. That's the attitude they wanted to have.
I think so, and I think that might speak to why you and I can get defensive about that kind of thing, because we've seen it. We have lived through it. Guys that thought they were the best and these games sucked and didn't have a problem saying that. And it's just like, well, that's bad. I mean, Injustice 1 was in I would argue, a real rough place until that NEC tournament where we saw like a complete paradigm shift. PPJ won the tournament with Hot Girl. Tyrant got second with Grundy. Ducky got third.
The balance patch pretty much changed the whole game, yeah.
It changed the whole game, and then they had
the game was bad.
Yeah.
The game was bad the first year.
Yeah.
The balance patch happened, and the game became decent.
Yeah.
It became playable, at least, yeah.
I would say so, yeah. And, it was a really good patch that, kind of righted the ship. I think even
Mr. Wizard, Mr. Wizard even said if it wasn't for NEC and the balance patch, this game would not even have gotten a second year at EVO.
And I mean, he's a a bullshitter and a liar too. So who knows if that was true? But that's cool.
I would. That sound pretty truthful because I mean a game got booed after grand finals.
Yeah, even they showed like a new character, like they showed Martian Manhunter and stuff like that. Like they dropped a trailer and just get booed. Yeah, look that up, guys. You look up Evo 2013, you'll see the boos. We weren't kidding. But I think looking back at that time,
that just kind of. That's how far we've come,
That's what I mean.
It's like that game started off, like people talk about Injustice 2 and how Injustice 2 started off with, Black Adam and Batman, and it's just like, remember Injustice 1 where like it wasn't even fucking playable, where you literally could get top 8 at Evo just picking Black Adam and just chucking drones, like that's how bad that was.
Or playing Killer Frost and not knowing like combos, but just kind of being Killer Frost. Like it just happened.
Yeah. So I hate it when I see that attitude from that era in these games because, especially
so much better. 2,
because the game is good. Like stop acting like it's fucking Injustice 1 or MK9. Like this is a good this is full circle from the very first episode. Like. Stop fucking bullshitting. This game is pretty fucking good. Stop fucking complaining. Fucking shoulder your suffering and fucking get through the shit that you're having complaints about because it's not that fucking bad. You're being a little bitch.
Whoa.
Yeah, like seriously.
Fired up.
It's just ridiculous. Like it's fine. Starfire's cheap. I get it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's not like against Superman where there was no figuring it out. Just
that's the thing. Yeah, those games we knew what the options were. They were just
sucked.
Horrible options. Like in Injustice 2, it's like what the options are. They're just it's an uphill battle. But when people have that attitude, like it's like the game is shit. Like Injustice 1 pre-balance patch, when they have that fucking attitude, that's when I get pissed off. I'm just like. You really have no idea how far along we've come. And so, with that regressional attitude of, that's what I say, like, it's like we have a tradition of complaining in this community, and it all starts from, years back.
When the games legitimately weren't that good to start with.
Right.
And I can understand why it'd take growing pains to get out of that, but like, at the same time, people would be like, well, there's higher standards today. There's more money on the line. And it's like, well, yeah, we knew there were high standards back then. Like, it wasn't not expensive to travel to a tournament. We all thought we were getting fucked if we went to a tournament. We were going to play against Superman or Black Adam or whatever. Still did it.
Yeah.
Still did it. And, it's not nearly as bad. And we don't have the luxury of having top players that were as bad and toxic as KDZ or Rico Suave or anything like that. Like, we just did it. Or even like Godspeed, I'll give him shit. He would always say Black Adam wasn't that good, and it's like, what are you, stupid? Like, what is the talking point where like, Black Adam, his dive kicks like plus 26.
It was crazy.
Yeah, everyone was like that. It was obnoxious.
Yeah. No one wanted to have a real conversation. Yeah. Everyone just wanted to talk about how great they were, and everyone else was bad.
Yeah, nowadays it's not like that.
It was just clearly the shit was just out of control. It was just, there was no actual support.
Yeah, no real support.
Crazy.
Yeah. Now it's like we could have a constructive conversation. Like we knew Deadshot was really good. We could see Aquaman and Black Adam were really good. And you know what? In time they were handled and it was fine. But back then it was like people would be playing Black Adam now and be like, well, he's not that good. Or they'd be playing Deadshot and be like, I mean, it's easy to jump over his projectile. And it's like, okay, can we be adults? We'll fix this. We'll get through it. Trust me.
Right.
Because we ain't going back to Injustice 1 ever. Despite how much Tom Brady probably wants to. So, last segment that we always leave is Q&A. We had 2 questions this week. We had one from Jeremy Ko on YouTube. He wanted to know, what do you think about Tekken 7? Obviously, a former Tekken player yourself. I know you don't probably play Tekken 7 that much, but what do you think about its pretty huge resurgence in the major FGC? What do you think about that?
I'm pretty surprised by it, honestly, because I had jumped ship from Tekken. because I just didn't think it was going anywhere. Tekken 6 was bad. Tekken Tag 2 was just Tekken 6 with 2 characters. I was just like, I don't know if Harada or who, I don't know if they know what the hell they're doing. So I was like, well, NRS is coming in the competitive scene. It's right up there in Chicago. I was like, I'm going to jump in this. I really liked MK9. So I was like, I'm going to jump ship over to this. So when I see, and then Tekken 7 comes out, and I'm just like, it looks pretty much like the same. The only difference I can see now is supers, guest characters. The slow-mo thing is a lot of hype. Movement does seem a little better, which is actually a really big deal, and so maybe that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, I just haven't really kept in touch with the scene, like hardly at all. Like, I can't tell you who won the last tournament. Like, I think it's cool. I think it's awesome that it's doing great. It's just, it's weird to me. It's weird. You want to know, like, I am an example of someone frustrated with a franchise, and I deviated from it. I said, fuck this, and I went to something else. And now it's huge.
There you go. It paid off.
Maybe if I would have stuck with it, I've guessed wrong my entire life on finding the right game to play. I started off, well, actually, when Tekken Tag 1, like, a shit ton of people played Tekken Tag 1.
Yeah, that was
like the game, yeah. And then, Tekken 5 was pretty good. But yeah, like, pretty much when, like, Street Fighter 4 came out and just destroyed Tekken. So I was like, that was like a Tekken 6 and like Tekken Tag 2. It was just like, the scene was so small. And I was just like, God, I was like, am I really going to be a top player in like, like a community that's super small and super, super dense? And I was just like, I was like, I feel like I've learned everything I can in Tekken. Let's learn something else. And then I started playing the NRS games and shit like that. So, I mean, I think it's awesome anyway. Regardless, I think the game's good. I think they're headed in the right direction. They definitely did, not dumb down, but they simplified some of the weird, like, nuanced shit, like, back rolling, getting caught during a back roll would, like, float you, and just weird stuff that good experienced players could exploit on noobs. They took a lot of that out, which makes sense. But it's weird. I didn't agree with the direction they were going, but then they went another direction. And you know what also changed? I think the landscape just changed just because Street Fighter is just not the big thing anymore. Because now, instead of Street Fighter just being the hugest thing, now there's 3 big things. It's like, there was Street Fighter, and pretty much everyone played that, and that's been divided up because it's so controversial now, or people are hating on it so much. So, a third of the players that were playing Street Fighter 4 went and either play anime games or Tekken 7. And so now, like, the FGC is Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, and anime games. I guess, like, Guilty Gear. And, like, BlazBlue and shit.
Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Exactly. Dragon Ball Fighters. So, it's a lot more diverse now. It's not all just fucking Street. And then, like, Injustice 2 is like its own little bubble.
Right.
And then the other half of, if you were to include Smash Brothers, it would be like 50% Smash Brothers, and then the other 50% is the FGC that we know it. It's interesting. It's an interesting landscape. It's just different. And it's I don't know, it's cool. I'm glad. I'm glad that there's more diversity out there in fighting games to play. As opposed to everyone's playing Street Fighter and then you have like these niche games.
Yeah.
So I think it's good.
Right.
I like it.
Good answer. We had one other question from the Gab Standard on TYM. He asked us, each of us, what were our best and worst tournament experiences? I have mine, but I'd rather you go first. Or if you need some time to think, I'll think about it.
Best experience, I would say the first major I won was really awesome. It was awesome.
For you.
Yeah, it was great. Like, it was one of the extravaganzas in Iowa. No one knows what I'm talking about.
Wow.
But, it was Tekken Tag. Insanely was there. I had a money match with him the night before. It was a first to 11. It was weird.
Why?
I don't know. It was an interesting, I don't know. He was just like, let's do first to 11. I don't know why. I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, my attitude is I'll fucking beat you no matter what. It was super close and went down to like the last game, last round. It was super close and I ended up beating him. And then top 3 in Tekken Tag, it was me, him, and Jop, the fucking legend. And like no one ever, like Jop had only lost like one Tekken Tag tournament to an American, and that was to Insane Lee. So it was super intimidating what I was going up against. I was like, God, I'm really going up against the fucking best right now. And I beat Bronson, which is Insane Lee. And then I played Jop. For some reason, we had to do like a round robin. They fucked up the bracket. It was early days.
Oh, yeah.
I beat Bronson, and then I played Jop in the round robin, and he absolutely destroyed me. And I was like I was like, wow, maybe the best I'll get is fucking second. And then my friend, like, he was like, what were you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He was like, man, you were just flailing like crazy. I was like, really? He was like, you were just attacking like nuts. I was like, no shit, I didn't even notice. I was like, okay. So then I ended up playing Bronson again in losers, and I beat him. And then I played Jop, reset him, and yeah, it was nuts, man. God, it was so cool. And he was starting to get in my shit. He was starting to figure me out. And I'll never forget it. Like I was up 2-1. He was really on that second game. Like he was killing me in game 4. And this Tekken Tag was a game where if one of your characters lost all their energy, that was it. That was the round. Right. Even if your other character had full life, if you knocked out one of those characters, that was it. If you knocked them out before it was like, in wrestling, if you get pinned, that's it. Even if your other partner's sitting there. Anyway, he was killing me with regular Ogre. He had like half his life. True Ogre hadn't even been touched. He destroyed Eddie. My team was Eddie and Julia. He destroyed Julia, and I was tagging out to Eddie. He did like his bazooka kick with Ogre, and I just timed it perfectly. Like Eddie came in, Netsu rodeo spin. It's like his special throw, does a fuck ton, and then I was Netsu, which is pretty much, rage.
Yeah. And
it did like half life and fucking killed him, and that's how the tournament ended. It was just so awesome. It was just epic. Yeah. So that was like the probably my favorite tournament moment. And worst tournament moment.
Experience, yeah.
Experience. Gameplay wise?
Could be anything. Could be overall.
Worst experience. It's hard to think of something that was... Oh, I know what it was. So, in DR, Tekken 5, I was really good in that game. I was getting top 8s and shit.
Yeah, top 8 at Evo, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. And one of my proudest accomplishments in fighting games is I went to Japan and I played like the best. And just being in Japan was fucking crazy. Playing the best was even crazier. It was awesome. And after that, it was just like, it felt like that was the best it was ever going to get. But there was like a tournament in Chicago coming up. I was like, oh, I better go to that. And I was very complacent after that. And I ended up playing this Kuma player from Kansas City. God, I can't even remember his name. But he played Kuma. He's just some low-level guy. and he destroyed me. And it was like the worst. It was just like coming from Japan and like competing with some of the best and like going toe to toe with them, and then coming back and then just losing to a random Kuma player twice. It was just like, that was probably the worst. I was like, God, I feel like shit. I was just like, that sucks.
Emo City.
Yeah. I guess.
I would say for me, my favorite tournament experience was probably West Coast Warzone 4, which was in 2014. That was in SoCal. That's a tournament run by a guy named Kai. And he does real well. He hired Level Up, which is Alex Valle's outfit, to do the streaming, do a lot of the brackets and stuff like that. He's just professional as hell. You went in there, and there was, for Injustice 1, there was like 10 setups. Because, a lot of times you go to these tournaments for Injustice, and it'd be like in the corner, underneath a not so well lit area. Like, it was definitely the redheaded stepchild, right? But this time, as with every other game, it was under, 10 setups. A stream situation. It had everything set up for it. The guy, and I can't remember his name, but he runs a lot of the tournaments for Level Up. He's super good at his job. He came out with a big board that had all the brackets on it, that had listings on it that you could follow. Instead of having to we gotta consult it on our phone or whatever. No, there was just a big thing on an easel right in the middle there that you could see. So that was cool. Another cool thing about the tournament was that there was, water lined up all around the room, so kind of like Evo was, where you don't see that in a lot of smaller tournaments, but they had water lined up everywhere, so you could always get water. And at one point, there was just dudes in the back that were from the tournament that had a big white van that you'd go out to, and they just had Little Caesars boxes, and they were just handing them out. Here you go. You're at the tournament, you get free pizza.
That sounds good.
Now that I think about it, though, approaching two kind of older-ish white dudes crouching in a big white van, that's probably, not a good scenario in 99% of cases. But here it was fine. You got pizza instead. And it was, it's Little Caesars, so it's not, the greatest pizza in the world, but for free, I'll take it. Unfortunately, there was a littering problem because everyone was leaving their boxes everywhere, so that wasn't so good. But I didn't do that well at that tournament. I was mildly disappointed, but I was happy that I played on stream against 16-Bit, who at the time was considered one of the best players of the game. And I took him to the limit. It was 3-2, went down to the last life bar. You can't be too upset about that. I was happy that, at least shows you could almost, you were that close to going the distance against a really good player. So you probably weren't as bad as you think. Maybe you just needed to clean it up a little bit. That was fun. I had a lot of fun at that tournament. Hung out with a lot of good friends. Great venue, great view, everything. It was a really well-run tournament. I really enjoyed it. My worst tournament experience is definitely, and this is probably pretty bad for you too. I'm surprised you didn't actually say it. Final Round 2012 was the shits. Final Round is like a long-standing tournament in the FGC, and I know we're supposed to kowtow to these guys because they've been doing it a long time, and I respect that, especially when you have no monetary gain from a lot of these. But this tournament fucking sucked. Pig was the only person who seemingly was the only person going back and forth trying to get brackets out. We didn't know what the hell was going on. We had that 5v5 that you were a part of. You remember that. Clearly you remember that.
Yeah, I remember
that. You were so emo the next day, you barely got out of bed.
Yeah.
And then it was an all-day Sunday event, and we had 100 players. It was a big tournament. All-day Sunday. Sucked. You didn't get to watch any of the other grand finals if you want to see them. We were cramped in the corner of the room, in the back of the room. There was no water to drink. You only had fucking NOS, which if you remember NOS was that energy drink. Some poor bastard drank too much, had some sort of heart palpitations or seizure or something, and got taken out in the ambulance.
I remember that.
Lord of the Fly, a guy who I do like, but at the time he was running the brackets by having every match on stream. It was
really
beyond amateur hour. So the tournament was going incredibly slow. I think we were there from 9 in the morning to 1 a.m. And we had to do we didn't even have time to stop for top 8. It was go, 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 because we got to be out of the building. And it wasn't a great experience. It was, the 5v5 was fun to watch and be a part of and stuff like that, but man, that tournament was real bad. And it was disappointing because, Final Round has this big reputation as being this great tournament and whatnot. But I think to me, it's pretty clear. A lot of times they won't care about those smaller games. It's kind of up to you to do it. And, I mean, that sucks too. Like, I mean, a lot of people are just there to play. They don't expect to have to help run the tournament too, you know? Yeah, that sucked. That was probably the worst tournament I've ever been to. Even the strip club tournament I went to was a little bit better run than that. Yeah, at least I knew what I was doing. Yeah.
I don't see how that could be a bad tournament.
No, it was pretty good. Yeah, I would say it was pretty good. Drinks were pretty expensive though. I wasn't a fan of that. It was like $8 for a drink. I was like, get out of here. But yeah, that was probably my worst tournament experience. Final round has gotten a lot of slack in the past couple of years. Like people finally starting to get sick of his shit. Hopefully it makes, I mean, he's claimed every year Shin Blanca who runs it is like, this is my last year, fuck all the haters, blah, 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 which is a really poor way of handling it, in my opinion. Like, dude, your tournament sucks. Like, just own it, say you're going to do better next year, and actually do better. That's all you can offer, right? But no, every year it's, my God, people spreading propaganda, blah, blah, blah. Never taking too much responsibility for what's going on. It's a shame. Not a great tournament. But I've been to more good ones than bad ones, I could say. That's my honest experience.
Yeah, that's why it took me a minute to think of a bad one.
Yeah, because the bad ones are usually like locally run and something like someone just doesn't know. Like I've been to one where it was at a Walmart and they were calling like anyone who had a fight stick, they were calling it a cheating machine, and they didn't have the characters unlocked. Like you go to those kind of tournaments that suck, but that to me is like another level. That's just like, okay, it's a Walmart. Like what are we supposed to do here?
Mm-hmm.
When guys are supposed to know better, that's when I usually am offended. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Like I said, we're trying to keep it a little short this week. We'll be back next week, talk about War of the Gods, and do some more, prepping for EVO. Maybe we'll talk about EVO 2014, which is a really fun event. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of people got to see it because the guys that run EVO didn't understand how the games were supposed to be patched and didn't have a working Xbox with the patch on it for the stream. So you got to see about 4 matches before they never showed any pools matches ever again. Luckily, Lord Dizzy was walking around with his phone. He was recording most of the matches. It's one of the most exciting tournaments, especially at that point in that game's life. Really excited to talk about it. I was there for it. It was super awesome, but a lot of people didn't get to see the pools, so I'll talk about that. I think that's all I got. What about you, Slips?
Good.
Good? Okay, so then I guess we'll take it out. Sign it off as King Hippo.
This is Slips.
See ya.